Hey everyone, thanks very much for clicking on this video today. I recently had the opportunity to talk with Lucy James, a woman with 15 years of experience in and around the games industry, from her work as a journalist, content creator, and producer at outlets like Giant Bomb and GameSpot, to her work as a presenter at events like Summer Games Fest. Our conversation was primarily centered around video game discoverability, the seeming return of demos, and Lucy's latest venture, Looking for Game. The reason for this intro is that due to some technical issues, aka Muggins here, the first 90 seconds of audio was not recorded. This included my clumsy intro, which you are getting right now, and Lucy's breakdown of Looking for Game, which I will try my best to recreate for you now. Looking for Game is a weekly newsletter that highlights upcoming PC games and delivers demo codes and playtesting opportunities straight to your inbox. It is free to sign up, and there is a paid tier which gives you access to the Looking for Game Discord server, game key giveaways, and more. Apologies for the technical difficulties, and I hope you enjoy the other 97% of the interview.
And an interview the developer, and crucially, a link to the demo or even a playtest key straight to people. Because I think the thing that I noticed and where the idea sort of came from is I would see all of these games all the time via social media, whether it would be scrolling on Blue Sky or Twitter or seeing a short video on TikTok and Instagram. And then, first of all, it'd be like, great, this gets it on my radar. But then there's sort of the little block, which means like I have to leave the app to go wishlist it and then hope that whenever that game releases, I still remember that video that I saw or that thing that I saw. And so for me, I was like, there's sort of something missing in that thing, because you have to sort of wait, and maybe there'll be a demo at Next Fest. And again, maybe you'll still remember that you have that recognition. And so I wanted to basically put demos in people's hands. And I feel like if you are the sort of person like me who loves a newsletter, it's sort of, you can't just scroll past it and you are not at the whim of an algorithm thinking that you wouldn't be interested in it. It's literally something that is coming to your inbox.
Yes.
And yeah, you can choose whether to open it or not. And if you do, then you've got a demo there for you. So, and then hopefully that means for the game developers themselves is that like you get more feedback, more people playing your demo. And when your game finally releases, you'll hopefully have more people who are like, I really like that demo. I'm going to buy and play the full thing. So I was trying to think of something that benefited like both the people who were signing up for the newsletter, like the readers, and also just like game developers as well, because discoverability is incredibly broken at the moment. And I'm not saying Looking for Game fixes it, but I wanted to do something that tried to help a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, so many different elements to talk about when it comes to
Mm-mm.
game discoverability. And as you say, there is very likely not a one size fits all solution
No.
for every game developer and consumer. You're trying to wrangle all these different parts, and there's more and more
Yep.
of these parts year on year. Back in the heyday when we had the physical demo discs,
Mm.
you're attached on the front of magazines and things. There was a smaller group of people. There were fewer games being made, and there were
Mhm.
certain publications that people would go to, knowing full well that, well, if I wanted to see what was coming up on PlayStation, you go to official PlayStation magazine. At least here in the UK, you would. And
Mhm.
then, of course, you'd get your disc and you'd have a dozen or so demos to try of those
Mhm.
games, and those were the ones to get excited for. That was the deal. And of course, the advent of the internet and things grow from there. Steam comes along. There's big shakeups, and suddenly there's more games than being made than ever before.
Mhm.
More eyes looking for games, but how do you line those up and bring them to each other? Especially
Mhm.
when things like demos for a good decade or so, since the sort of, I guess, early 2010s, had fallen out of favor in a
Mhm.
big way. It seemed, where developers rarely would use them in order to boost any sort of interest in their game. There were, especially in the AAA sphere, at least, there seemed to be a
Mhm.
bit of a sort of, oh, actually, that's maybe not what we need to do. Let's just do a trailer. People,
Mhm.
jump in when it's out, and we'll go from there. But in the last few years, obviously, we've seen an uptick again. We've seen some bigger
Mhm.
studios using demos, it seems, again, as a way to draw attention to their games. But you are still left then with the problem of the amount that there is and trying to
Yes.
find them and all the rest of it. So the idea of then Looking for Game, as you say, creating that direct kind of, handover of, hey, this is your demo disc, your demo for the week or
Mm-mm.
whatever. I love that, as you say, because it creates that chance for people to personalize it for themselves. As
Mhm.
you say, these are coming back into kind of favor again. And a recent experience I had was signing up for the Bithell Games newsletter.
Yes.
For the Vampirium 1999 announcement, which was great fun, and I've been keeping up with that. And I take it you as well.
I was talking to him. I was on Kind of Funny the day he revealed it, and so yeah,
brilliant.
it's nice to see like different ways to use different platforms to sort of tease reveals and work with a community. Because that's the other thing is that like, it's not as easy as just releasing a game anymore. Most of the developers I speak to, they're like, well, we have to have a Discord, we have to build a community, and like that's a whole other job in itself, and that sort of takes away from time on the game is to make sure that you are eking out information and maintaining and building a community who's going to follow you. Like that's another part of it that I suppose like we didn't really have to think of 10 years ago. So it would just basically be the game developer, the media, and people consuming whatever came from the, like there was a disconnect a little bit. And now it's like you want to get the audience involved and showing them things like as soon as possible, which is a very different way than what we're sort of used to. And yeah, to your point about like, AAA not having demos, it's for a while it was like, do these cannibalize sales? Like, do we want to put anything out for free? Why would we do that? Then you sort of saw that change a little bit with, I would say Game Pass certainly
Absolutely.
helped a lot because it lowered the barrier to entry massively. But then even PlayStation, one of their features for PS5 was if you're signed up to PS Plus at like the highest tier, you got essentially game demos. And then if you bought the full game, then that progress carried on. And so there was sort of a softening to it. And then obviously with the PC market, with Steam next first, and just the floodgates opened, and now demos are cool again.
That's it. It's like all best intentions, but unfortunately, it's still like this sort of here's some demos. Oh gosh, there's so many. Like, how do you?
There's so many.
Yeah, and so I always look forward to a Steam Next Fest, but I can only imagine that for certain developers, it's a heyday of wish lists and people checking it out and building up that momentum. And then for others, unfortunately, because it is however many games being made year on year, you are just going to start to get lost in the shuffle, even on an event that's designed to highlight these games that have demos. Now,
Yes.
to Steam's credit, they're still trying to do things. Only recently, their last update introduced just a simple tag of demo available on your Steam wishlisted games. So you can at least see then, just from a quick glance, like, oh, fantastic, new demos up on that game I'm excited for. I can check it out early. And as you said, then demos coming back in the new digital landscape that we're now in, as opposed to where it was originally in the physical sort of realm, or almost entirely. You've now got the carryover of your progress from the demo. Before it was static, it was kept in one place, and it didn't mean anything after that. But now you can say, well, hey, why not play up to the first boss, or get the first few levels or missions done, and we'll save that for you. When the game comes out, you can carry on from where you left off. It's great. It kind of creates another hook for people to get pulled in by.
I will say Steam, they're making a lot of moves in the right direction, but I think if you uninstall a demo, it doesn't sort of like keep it in the bar, which is a real pain in the ass for someone like me, in my very specific use case. But also I think, if people, they just uninstall it because, hey, no one's got memory anymore. If you are uninstalling stuff and it takes it out of that sidebar, like I don't know about you, but I go in my Steam account and I'm like, what have I been playing recently? And I go down in my library, and if it's not there, that's not useful for anyone. So Steam, next update, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. It seems a shame that they just get removed entirely, leave them there like you would do with anything else. Like I've had it before. If I want to remove it entirely from the list, let me do it again, say like
or even just set up a new filter where it's like like I just want to see the full games that I have, like don't show me the demos.
Yes, exactly, something like that would be great. And again, so much of that discoverability is then the UI, the way to access these things in the first place. I find that whilst on the actual consoles themselves for PlayStation and Xbox, generally speaking, fairly easy to find where demos might be. However, if you're somebody who is on your phone trying to find out if there's a demo for a game, it can be a lot harder to find out if it's on your chosen platform. I don't know what it's like with the apps necessarily. I find they can be a bit hit or miss, generally speaking, for like searching for that sort of thing. But again, I feel like it's just, trying to iron out the creases and allow people to find these things and know that they're there in the first place. Have a pop-up on the console that says like, hey, new demo out for such and such a game, or whatever it might be.
It goes a long way. I think there's sort of like a language to UX, obviously, but it's like anything that you can do to show people that you have a demo. Like it's also the same with like discussing your game or whatever on social media. So even this is an issue that I'm having, right, with myself, is that I've pulled away from social media a lot in the last few years. The only place that I routinely post on anymore is kind of Instagram, and that's because it's just like a flash and then it's sort of gone.
Very healthy for you, I'm sure.
Right. No, it's great, but it means that, I'm starting a new venture. I should be posting about it all the time, but my brain doesn't want to be posting all the time. But it's marketing. And so it's the same for game developers. You cannot post about your game too many times. That's the thing. Like you always have to be posting, because there's always going to be some shift in some algorithm that means that maybe a new audience will see it, maybe your existing audience won't see it. So yeah, that's a sort of mind shift to get into. Because yeah, we're long past the heyday of Twitter. I would say that blue sky is not necessarily it anymore. You are hoping for the TikTok algorithm or the Instagram algorithm to bless you. So it's like you just gotta ABP, always be posting.
Yeah, yeah, and as you say, for developers and programmers and people who will be making these games, that may not necessarily be their forte. That's not where their strengths lie in marketing or firing off, sort of just kind of funny posts about the game, or just having the presence of mind to capitalize on a little moment or something like that. Taking inspirations from Devolver Digital is a good call for trying to do your viral marketing, but you have to have someone who is there.
You have to have someone who's like very online and who knows how to navigate those waters. And I think as well, social media is so much worse that you need to have someone who can actually navigate through the legitimate criticism and the disingenuous stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on into sort of, I guess, creating these sort of more direct paths to people, whether it's through a newsletter or something like that. Do you see that maybe becoming a new way, not new way, the old way brought new again, of helping people find demos and things like that, more so than something like a Steam Next Fest? It will always still happen and still be beneficial to studios, but if you're someone who's interested in a particular genre of game or something like that, do you think it's then worth having people doing something similar to Looking for Game, or something like playtester.com, which is just sort of almost just like an archive of like, hey, these games have demos?
I mean, I think it's always going to be a mix. I think the shotgun approach of something going viral on social media is always going to be super, super useful. But I also think people do crave that handcrafted, like, and actually a hand-picked recommendation, which is what Looking for Game is kind of, it's my opinion. It's things that I find interesting. And I know they're not going to be I know not every game is going to be good for every member of the audience, but at the same time, if it finds an audience, that's immensely gratifying. And so, I think I think we are just seeing a big rejection of algorithms and AI, and people just wanting those human connections. And so I do think that the newsletters are certainly having their moment. Podcasts are still continuing to have their moment. I think people just crave that human connection, to be honest. And if that's the way that things go forward in the future, I think Next Fest is fantastic, but I think it is unruly. I got the list for the most recent one, and at that point it was close to 5,000. I think a few hundred got culled because they were blatant rip-offs or all AI. But like the big issue there was that like Valve didn't let you filter out anything with a Gen AI disclosure, and I think that's going to continue to be a big argument as we continue to exist in a world where everyone is pushing Gen AI in all corners. And so it's Next Fest has a lot of pros and cons, but also I understand from Steam's point of view that they don't necessarily want to be in charge of all of that. Like certainly they want to have a bit of a hands-off approach and let the games speak for themselves. There used to be ways to really game Next Fest. Like there was a lot of algorithm stuff in the background that people could do to improve their wish listing and improve their visibility. And they changed it, I think, for either the last one or the one before. They changed a bunch of stuff, and they continue to adapt things. I think it is still a very, very valuable, like next to us is still the thing that indies prioritize a lot when they're putting in a demo, is like making sure their timing aligns with Next Fest. But yeah, if you don't get good enough traction, then what's it all for? It's, you know.
And there just seem to be, going forward, fewer and fewer avenues, as we say, that there used to be available. As much as trying to introduce things like demos and mailing lists or newsletters are, a way to kind of push back against that. But we're obviously, shortly after another large announcement about, less physical media now being made for games, which for the longest time was a great form of discoverability for people, sharing games with friends and stuff like that, very easily seeing a box on the shelf even,
Yep.
simple acts like that, meant something, and had a huge impact. And in a smaller way, but also not on the consumer front, but actually on the developer front, and was something that I hadn't really kind of come to realize at the time, was how physical media is so important to the developers as well, because for them, of course, it's so much like a author having their book, or a musician having a vinyl or CD press. It's like the idea that you will no longer be able to have your game physically made, to hold, go into your local game shop and find it and have the classic developer photo of, look what I found in my local GameStop or something like that. These are big things that mean a lot to people for a lot of different things, alongside discoverability as well. And we're stripping that away. So in some aspect, like you said, it's not the responsibility of Steam, but does that mean that the responsibility then falls to people like content creators and the more kind of like nebulous entertainer types that we come across? We see websites like Kind of Funny, channels like Kind of Funny, or I just watched your episode with MidMax recently, where of course you talk about a great bunch of fantastic indies that people may have missed out on. Love seeing that on more and more channels and more places. Is that the way that we kind of try and help in that respect, is having people who just take the time to try and curate videos and content for people to find things?
I mean, in terms of discoverability, I think it's only a net benefit for people to look at things other than the big AAA releases that everyone else is talking about. I worked obviously at GameSpot for 12 years, and you are not pushed, that's the wrong word I'm using, but it's certainly the preference is to cover the big games that are going to just hit, because that equals traffic and everything. And you want more people to watch your videos. Okay, so I'll do a video about GTA or something, but then you lose so many different cool experiences. Like the vast majority of my favorite games in the last couple of years are indies, A Seance of Blake Manor and Roger, Consume Me, all of these games that not many big games media outlets would cover as intensely as someone who is more on the indie beat, or talking about it on a podcast, and like MinMax or Kind of Funny or Friends Per Second. And so I wouldn't say for the people in the content creator media side of things it's like a responsibility, but I just think it's good for them in general, because there are only so many takes you can have about Wolverine or whatever, or GTA, and I think if everyone narrows their focus on one smaller section of games, then I think we're missing out on so many cool and interesting experiences everywhere else.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Yeah, most of my favorite gaming experiences as well have been probably from indies over the last few years. One or two stand out from the AAA, but again, there has to be something special now, and rightfully so, to a certain degree. They're the ones we expect to provide these sort of life-changing experiences. But it's nice when a game like a Consume Me or a Thousand Times Resistance
Horses,
and just changes something about your life, changes something about your mood,
yeah,
anything like that. And
or even Horses. I mean, I would say that when Horses came out last year, so that's an example of Valve not wanting to get involved. Usually they do get involved, it sort of blows up in their face, and then it blows up in Epic's face. But it's art at the end of the day. And so I think you're broadening your mind is always going to be the best thing. It's why like one of the big things that people who work in media always say is don't just consume video games. Make sure you read, make sure you watch stuff, engage with criticism of other things, because otherwise, if your mind is just focused hell-bent on video game stuff, you are blocking off your mind to a lot of other cool pieces of media.
Yeah, Absolutely. I'm guilty of that myself. And this last family holiday, I took it upon myself to do some actual reading of some
Hmm.
just, websites and things like that. So,
Hmm.
read Annihilation, been meaning to watch the film, read the
Oh, very
book.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
love that. I've been reading Kevin
Hmm.
McDonald's Super Nintendo, which has been brilliant.
Oh, I read that and it's very good.
Yeah,
Kids did a
really
great job.
enjoying that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right though. I think that there's something to be said about, bringing in all this extra media. And I think once you then enjoy other sorts of media, you get more
Mhm.
out of the games you're playing. So,
Yes.
sometimes it's something quite direct, like I'm currently playing Control, and it's
Hmm.
great to watch
Is that an
characters.
Ashtray Maze shirt?
It is, it is.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, I am a fan,
Yeah.
and
To
I'm
say
very
me
much.
too. I mean, I've got that one.
Oh yes,
Got
you
some.
do.
I got some Alan Wake stuff in here.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited for Resonant, and so yeah, to hear
Hmm.
this, they just dropped the announcement that it's going to be at Gamescom, and we're going to be there, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
But yes, playing through that, you gain so much more enjoyment from having absorbed other sorts of media, and having then read
Mm-hmm.
Annihilation, a book that I read after playing Control the first time and gone back to play it
Mm-hmm.
now. There are little things I'm getting from it, just like just the visual, effects that are happening on screen. I'm saying like this is now giving me kind of more of
Hmm.
it's triggering other
Yeah.
neurons and things like that, and it's that much more
I was gonna
interesting
say,
for
wait,
me.
the ultimate remedy test is if you've read House of Leaves.
Well, yes, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to
House
try
of
one
Leaves,
day.
I think makes you said three body problem was another big
Mm,
touch point for Control
yeah,
One.
yeah, yeah.
So
I can.
I haven't read Three Body Problem, but I did do House of Leaves after playing around playing Alan Wake 2, and I was like, ah, yes, there it is.
That's
This
that's
all makes sense.
that's a heady experience, I'm sure, doing both of those at the same
Yes,
time.
yes. Was it though? I loved that book. Oh my
Mm,
God. Um, yeah. I was on a plane reading it, and you have to turn it upside down at certain places. And she was like, "Is that a textbook?" And I was like, "No, it's a book about a house." But it's
sounds
great.
brilliant. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. This is funny enough. We've already kind of burnt through much of what I was really hoping to
Mm.
talk about with you, which has been great. Again, I, I I expected nothing less from you at the end of the day. You know your stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I'm at the stage now where I'm meeting a lot of developers and stuff, and sort of I've got the pitch down in terms of what
Mm,
LFG is.
mm.
I should really put it on some kind of presentation slide. And also, yeah, I'm sorry, my voice is done. I was at Comic-Con at the weekend, and I came back yesterday, and I sort of went to voice note a friend of mine, and I was like, oh God, this is not gonna sound nice for you.
Well, I hope you had a good time there. And I'm glad to hear that you're
Thank
still
you.
doing events and things like that as well, of course, because
Yeah, well, I mean, I was doing the Control Resonant panel. It's very funny you
oh
brought that
wow,
up.
okay, well,
Yeah.
there we go.
No, it's great. I'm still doing like little bits and pieces of hosting there, and I
Mm,
have it's funny, like I describe indies by day, and then I'm
mm.
doing AAA by night with Friends Per
Yep.
Second, which is the my podcast. So
I love
with
that.
Ralph and Jake. And so
One for you,
it's
one for them, almost sort of thing.
basically no, it's one it's yeah, it's been a really nice balance of
Mm,
everything because yeah, I think setting my own schedule has been phenomenal. I think that's been a really good shot in the arm in terms of mental health, and like I've been getting out a lot more. And sort of like I have a routine during the week where it's like, okay, I will go because I have chronic fatigue syndrome as well. And so
mm.
a lot of commuting was very difficult for me because I would just be completely wiped at the end of the day. Now that I work from home and I can set my schedule a bit and I can actually fit in naps, which is great. Not to say that that's what I spend all of my time doing, but like, if things do get a little too much, I can just have a sleep. But it's like, oh, I can just walk to the shop. I can go and do a yoga class or something and then come back and then, I'm not missing a meeting or someone's not pinging me because I'm not online on Slack.
Yeah.
It's very nice. And also like a lot of my friends work from home, so I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Do you want to get lunch?
Hey,
And then we'll come back and do something.
can actually do that together. Yeah.
Um,
No, that's
yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working from home myself as well, work more because
Mm,
of my kids and things like that. But you're right.
mm,
It's nice having that opportunity to break away and just have your own life around work as opposed to
mhm.
you know work around everything else. But
Yes.
again, when it comes to your sort of role with your work with looking for game and things like that, then
Mm,
having all this experience work, talking with developers, learning the ins and outs of what they're going through and things like that. Do
mm.
you then have you taken a lot of what you've learned from there and put that into what you're doing here? And do you get a sense of what the sort of the hardest issues for developers are when it comes to discoverability and things like that, or is it very much a sort of case by case situation?
It's a case by case. I mean, I think discoverability is a problem for everyone, not just indies, even the AAA, with when they've got the marketing budget to throw behind it. You know, it's not even then a guarantee of success. And then you have discussions over price point. That's a big thing. Obviously, that's changing by the day as gamers and publishers evaluate if, you know, what is worth it, what is going to push someone over the line to pay more money, or crucially, it's like you take the gamble and price it lower and hope that it gets mass adoption because people think, oh, that's the same amount as a cup of coffee, or that's the same amount as a cinema ticket, you know. And so people equate value to things in various ways. But in terms of like all of my time speaking to developers, and this is over a career of, 15 years. Hello, Jelly. This is my cat. Hello. I can't have a single call without her becoming desperately interested. She's a little gamer cat. No, I think the biggest thing that I have with working and talking to developers over years is just immense amounts of empathy. I've worked on like various little projects, like short films or something, and even if the production timeline for that was maximum 3 months, I get so caught up in it that when it actually releases, it's just such a immense amount of emotions. And I think with development of a game, which is usually at least a year, depending on what you're making, at least a year, most of the time a lot longer, because it's, especially for indies, they're working on it when they have a full-time job. Just empathizing, like navigating the landscape of discoverability, navigating funding, navigating releasing a game, figuring out your release window, and then dealing with all the emotions of, creating a piece of art and putting it out in the world. And so for me, it's like I just want to, get projects that I believe in, in front of people and hopefully help them with in whatever way that I can, because it's such a difficult thing, and people always assume it's like, oh, being a game developer must be the best job in the world, being in games media must be the best job in the world. And it's like everything is difficult in certain ways. There is no perfect job, there is no best job in the world. No. And now I'm desperately trying to think of one. I was like, I don't know, I'd be a cat, but that's not a job. That's becoming an animal and sleeping all day. So yeah, it's just empathy, I think, is the thing that I've taken from my career, and that I think a lot of people could also do with taking. Like absolutely. Developing some. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And yeah, I had the chance from earlier this year at London Games Festival to chat with the publisher's Secret Source, who started off more as a marketing company and like that, and then over the time have sort of broadened and evolved, and then started Weekend Games there and sort of publishing branch there.
I spoke with them a couple of weeks ago. Yes. Yeah, I wonder if we spoke with the same person.
Yeah, wonderful. That's really cool, because I thought, wonderful people, wonderful idea, and it really spoke to me of how, like you, they're finding the little places that they can get in and they can help. You can't do it all. You don't need to be able to do it all, and often the people who you're trying to help don't need it all. They just need one or two bits. They need some help with marketing, or they need some help with management of the project, whatever might be going on. They need some help getting eyes on their game through discoverability. Like this is, I think, part of what we need to maybe see more of, as opposed to what obviously has been the norm for so long, which is just big PR companies that kind of just handle it all. But no doubt, like smaller teams can't afford that. They get lost in the shuffle. What are you going to do? Oh, we'll muddle our way through as best we can. Trying to do it all.
There's also, well, that's the thing. There's also like the sort of the unwritten side of things, which is the networking. You have to know who to talk to. You have to know not only who to talk to, but how to talk to people. You have to understand how to pitch your game. You could have the best game in the world, but if you're not doing your pitch properly, then, or if you're not, God forbid, like if you, put your game forward for something and you haven't read the form properly and you haven't done XYZ, like there's a lot of, and again, this is sort of a wider conversation where it's like, it's that institutional knowledge that the games industry is absolutely hemorrhaging. Yes, there are all these write-ups and here's how to pitch your game for this, here's how to do this in XYZ, but it's like, really, it's nice to just have someone walk you through it and just show you how to do it and like, show you the ropes, and yeah, that's another thing that we are losing.
Yeah, as you say, there's no one to help you up the ladder anymore. You might be on the ladder, but you're still got to do it yourself, and the rungs are slippery,
Yeah.
all the rest of it, and it's getting harder each time.
Unless you are, though, I will say shout out to a lot of indie games who have had enormous success. So I'm talking Inner Sloth here, Kinetic, Pocket Pair, who are now investing all of that money back into other games. And so we are seeing the rise of the boutique publisher, usually from, again, there's sort of like the different camps of it, and a lot of those indies who hit enormous success, and then there are the folks who worked in AAA and are disillusioned and who want to and can do it better than the traditional publishing models and marketing models that we've seen over the last few years. And so I think there is still like some hope with regard to that. I think, like talking to those teams and, seeing that the games like Pocket Pair revealed a game just the other day. And that's the thing, I'm sitting on secrets, but it's like, just seeing and understanding what they are working on and what their metrics of success are and how they're taking, like a lot of them have their contracts available to read, so you can even just see like, oh, everything else is, quite, like a lot of the contracts for AAA for indie games are quite predatory, but you see these folks and these teams trying to make a difference. Like there's one publisher who will sign your game, give you a marketing spend, but if you don't get a certain number of wish lists, they drop you. And I was like, that's and so I'm obviously in the indie game dev subreddits and everything, and every so often you will see hey, has anyone heard of these guys? And you see all these horror stories, and it's like, come on, man.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, they're looking out for each other in that respect.
There's a lot of camaraderie on Reddit still, which is good, and all these sort of spaces where folks are, still backing each other. Thankfully,
that's it, yeah. That homegrown spirit will always be what keeps indies going, regardless of what else is going on. We see that through game jams, we see it through, as you say, just the general community coming together, collabs, all manner of things.
I mean, and certainly events like the Mix, Day of the Devs, PAX, when people can get in person. And that's the thing, is that not everyone can. It is a big money investment and time investment to attend a show. You've got to travel, you've got to pay to, pay for accommodation and everything, but it can be really worth it. You can meet really excellent people. It's why it's so sad to me that GDC is as expensive as it is. I'm obviously very fortunate because I live in the Bay Area, and but no, to be a GDC is sort of an eye-watering amount, and so you got to wonder what the return on that is. You'll meet guaranteed a bunch of interesting people, but
yeah, as you say, it's the getting in the first place that's going to be such a hurdle. But thankfully, indies still seem to sort of band together, make it work for themselves, regardless of what the obstacles are. And we're seeing the sort of shift, as you say, like you see the boutique kind of publisher coming along, which is replacing what was the indie publishers of sort of Annapurna and Devolver Digital, who have now become what would be back in the day the AA developers, I guess, of some degree.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like Annapurna is an interesting one because they are, as you say, like moving up a little more into that AAA space. But I think they definitely still feel like they have that AA in terms of a lot of the projects that they're backing.
Absolutely.
And Devolver. I would count Devolver still as AA. But I think it's nice that they've never sort of lost the core of who they are, like the troublemakers.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I think there's just more room for a lot more people. And I hope that, everyone finds the funding that they need and has the success.
Yes. Again, yeah. With all the will in the world, a game can get amazing sales or do fantastically reviews, and yet that's still not a guarantee, which is not even to do with what we've been talking about. It's just the sad reality of this industry being the way it is right now, where it's tough. Even if you are a winner, you may not end up being able to support yourself going forward in some way, which is really, really hard to think about.
Yeah, I mean, look at Xbox recently, look at IO Interactive recently. I mean, look at anyone recently. I mean, it's certainly in the AAA space. But then we also have was the game, it was the Blumhouse one. Crystal, I think, was like they
Oh,
just laid
yes.
off like that studio's closing down. Like a lot of indies,
Yeah.
it's like yeah,
The studio
it's awful.
shooter Lunar Abyss as well, literally only
Yeah.
weeks after it came out on
Hmm.
Game Pass and got great reviews. It's like, yeah, we're having to shutter the studio.
Yep.
It's like,
Hmm.
so,
Yeah, it's bleak.
yeah, it's really tough. Um,
Mm.
but thankfully, we've got people like yourself out there doing things like Looking for Game to try and help
Thank you.
get those games.
Yeah, I wondered how you were going to segue out of that one because we both were like, "Oh, this sucks."
I was like, do I just hard cut to just a sort of, so what are
No.
you excited for? No. I think it's great though that we do have people like you who have the presence of mind to try and do something because they're in a position where they can, or they have the experience that they want to pass on, as we were talking about. And whilst they may not be directly involved in game development, it's in aspects that developers, especially indie developers, are probably still going to be lacking in, not to their fault or anything like that. It's just the reality. You shouldn't have to wear all the hats, but that's what the job entails for a lot of indie developers.
Yes.
But if you're someone who can show them how to wear the hat, at least, then hey, that's better than, as you say, doing it on your own and trying to make
Yep.
the sense of it. So yeah, thank you for Looking for Game, and I wish you all the best. Are there any
Thank you.
sort of hopeful plans for the next couple of years, like as it grows? Is there
Ooh,
something
couple
that's
of, I
coming
mean,
up?
so a couple of years is, I mean, honestly, I have a sort of pillars of things that I want to maintain. So I want to be sustainable, ensure that there's long term for Looking for Game, and that means I'm not gonna grow quickly or anything. It's just to make sure that the offering is good and that people like it. And I think that the big thing for me is sort of reputational. I want to continue to be a voice and for Looking for Game to be a voice of that people trust. And so that's the thing that's always in the front of my mind is, making, you can't buy back a reputation. And I want to, make sure that I'm continuing to surface a lot of really cool games. And luckily for me, is that there's no shortage of them. I have so many in my inbox. I have like a very long list in my notebook of, here, I got to get back to this. I got to do this. This is coming out here. And so for me, it's just kind of maintaining and also just like not burning out would be a great one.
Yeah.
But I just, I'm growing, but sustainability is like top of mind, and just sort of like I would love to get more voices in at some point, do more interviews, like do more feature ideas. And so I'm just excited that now I have a playground in which to do it in, which is fun.
Yeah. Looking forward to more. Again, signed up immediately as soon as.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been very wild. Like I was at Comic-Con and like someone came up and was like, "I'm playing Desktop Explorer because of you," and I was like, "Oh my god, good, it works."
It did it.
And also Desktop Explorer rules, so I'm really glad.
It does. It does. Back to the fact that you bring up that game in particular. Have you seen another game that just had its Kickstarter start called Tabula?
Ooh, no, but that's the thing, is like fake OS games are having a moment. So what's it called? Tabula?
Yeah. I think this one might be of interest to you. Again, with that aesthetic and like that.
Yeah.
Definitely my sort of thing, playing with puzzle game, playing with space and that sort of jazz. I backed it immediately once I saw. But yeah.
Ooh.
Whilst we're sort of winding down, is there a game that you'd like to sort of highlight for people to go and check out? I know obviously you've got the ones that I'm Looking for Game, but is there something that you've not been able to talk about yet that you'd like to highlight?
Depends on when this goes out. No, hang on, let me.
You're
No,
allowed to talk
so
about it, I guess.
I will say that I'm really looking forward to Runt is finally coming out very soon. Runt is a game that I played the demo, I think it was last year and visual novels get a really bad rep. People kind of don't seem to think about the fact that all they do all day is read anyway. But I'm really excited for Runt. It's like you play the youngest of a family of brothers and some awful world-ending event happened, and your brothers are the muscle who run this leftover town by like fear, basically. And someone has desecrated your father's church, and it's up to you to figure out who did it. So if it's someone in the town, if it's maybe, yeah, and it's some of the best writing I've I've experienced in a long, long time. And so it has this macabre, post-apocalyptic feel, but genuine tension because your eldest brother is so terrifying and everyone is afraid of him. So I'm really excited for that one. It's out next month.
It looks very cool. I've just gone
Yeah.
to the Steam page. It has a demo.
It has one of the best title reveals in a game. I was genuinely like, oh, when they did it. It was really cool. And so yeah, Dread XP specializes in obviously horror. I also love the fact that we've got a lot of boutique publishers that are specializing in specific sort of areas, like Serenity Forge and Dread XP. They just both love messed up games, and I'm a big fan of a messed up game, so I obviously gravitate towards them. But what else? I'm looking at my desktop. Because some of these are gonna be LFG games, so I kind of can't say it. But I will say a pick from a couple weeks ago, which is Sovereign Tower, is so up my street. Like Sovereign Tower is a wonderful, wonderful demo. Also out in a few weeks, I believe. But it's basically like, what if you were the sovereign in the tower and trying to build up your kingdom, but you also have to deal with the egos of your round table, and it's sort of like a relationship manager. Dealing with court drama, and for some reason there's also a little demon in the pit who can turn back time if you feel like you've messed it up.
It looks so interesting. I love the art style again.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's very funny too. Very a lot of irreverent humor in it, which I really enjoyed.
No, well, thank you very much for sharing those. And again, to whatever comes next, the next one to be shared through Look4Game. And
Fine on Friday.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I really appreciate you spending time with me about all this. This has been really fun.
It's been lovely. Yeah, it's been lovely.
And I as I said, look forward to more from Look4Game. And yeah, wish you all the best success, all the best luck, and just please keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to quickly thank Lucy for taking the time to chat with me, and of course, thank you for listening or watching. Links to anything that we talked about can be found in the description below, and I implore you to check out Looking4Game, as it's a really handy resource for discoverability. If you'd like to see more video content like this, please consider subscribing to the Gamer Social Club YouTube channel, and for all our written work, please visit www.gamersocialclub.ca. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.